Welcome to Talk Thursday. If you were watching the Philippine impeachment trial of Chief Justice Renato Corona, you'll notice one lawmaker coming extremely prepared with arguments, with what is actually going on. He is sitting with us here today. We are joined by Senator Alan Peter Cayetano, one of the youngest members of the Senate. Welcome. Thank you for joining us on Talk Thursday.
Good afternoon or good evening, good morning, as the case may be for those who are watching us all over the world. No? Second youngest because Senator Trillanes is the youngest, and thanks for having me over. It's exciting to be on this different kind of media. As I was telling you before we started, you have the traditional media, the tri-media, and the new media. But Rappler seems to be something in the middle, something to bridge between the new media and the traditional tri-media. No?
Well, we're being joined right now by people on social media. Join us on Facebook, on the Rappler account, or on Twitter at rappler.com. Send your questions, your comments. And I'm going to start with the first questions. I mean, I always like to know from the people who actually have to make things happen. How do you see the Philippines today? You know, what do you see are the key issues you should be addressing? Where are we?
Well, you know, the more you learn about the Philippines, the more you find out that you also know so little. No? It's like the high school, di ba na?
Yes.
The more you learn, the more you know, the more you know, the more you find out that you know so little. So some say, why study at all? No? But seriously, I think that's one thing about campaigns, about going around the country, especially at the local level, going house to house. Because it's really different at ibang-iba when people can point to you, sir, yan yung kanal, no, ng baho-baho, or yan. Sir, tignan mo, hapon na hapon, we're all here kasi walang trabaho. I'll give you an example. No? When I ask people about unemployment, if you look at the statistics, they'll say it's somewhere between 10 to 20% at any point in time. No? And sabi nila, 20 mataas pa. No? But ask people to raise their hands. When you go on a campaign or on any, ask people, sino walang trabaho dito? And they don't even have to raise their hands. The mere fact that they're there and you're meeting them lunchtime or afternoon.
Yeah.
So we took an SWS survey in Taguig, no? 50% walang trabaho. So ask me, how is the Philippines? Siguro I'll put it this way. Could be much, 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 much better. You know, there's when former First Lady Imelda Marcos years ago said that we're a rich country pretending to be poor. She got so much flack about it.
Yes.
But reflecting on it, lahat ng natural resources na pwede mong hingin at isipin, the Lord has given us.
Yes.
Diba? A few years ago, wala pa tayong natural gas at oil, meron na rin. Lahat ng minerals, beautiful lakefronts, mga beach, forest areas, tourism areas, lahat ang Pilipino madaling matuto and everything. So I guess that's what's so frustrating for a young public servant or politician. If you were like a country in some parts of the world na, you know, people don't have access to education, walang natural resources, harsh yung conditions, you would understand why you're going nowhere.
Yes.
Pero tayo, para tayong basketball team na you have a star rebounder, you have a galing nyo sa defense, you have a great center, you have a great passer, but every time you get in the semifinals, you drop the ball and you choke.
So why? Why do we do that? Why can't this country capitalize on what it has?
Corruption is a big issue, di ba? Yung lack of vision, lack of national identity, siguro. So many things. We just came from Bangkok, no?
Yes.
And when you go to other countries like, let's say, Singapore, everywhere you look, everything is order, di ba?
Yes.
And then you remember na ganyan din naman sa Subic, ganyan din naman sa Palawan. They taught their children na sila pa naman ninita na wag ka magtapon. No? But you go to Thailand halimbawa, in the 1990s, we were almost exactly like them.
Yeah.
And they had more problems than us. Grabe ang drugs sa kanila, grabe ang peace and order, their border disputes. But today, how come medyo naiwan tayo? How come sa kanila, any hospital you go to, libre kahit anong gamot and procedures? How come sa kanila madaling mag-aral? How come sa kanila they don't send 10 million of their people around, I mean, Indonesia, Philippines? Ang dami natin OFWs, they have to leave their family. Bakit doon? Bakit mura ang pagkain doon? So these are the questions, di ba, that as a young idealistic politician come to you. But of course, when you get back home, nandiyan din yung pragmatic politics.
Yes.
Di ba? Nandyan din yung...
So this is because of politics or governance, the way the Philippines has been?
Well, one of our friends there na Thai, who's a tour guide, no? Sabi niya, we only have one problem here in Thailand. Sabi ko, what's the problem? Politics. So, I would probably say the same thing in the Philippines. Na ang problema din natin siguro is our type of politics. Was it Quezon who said that I'd rather have Filipinos running the Philippines like hell rather than foreigners running the Philippines like heaven?
Yeah.
I agree that you shouldn't have foreigners running the Philippines. But I think we took it literally that we have to run the Philippines like hell.
Yes.
So what happened, Filipinos took over, but politicians, di ba, are forgetting that heaven is the model, not hell.
So you've been in the political system.
On July 5, I'll be 20 years in the political system.
That's 2 decades in the political system. Okay, so how would you describe it and how can you change it?
It's a walk of faith. It's amazing. It can really change you for better or for worse. There are a lot of times that you can feel lost. Relevance mo, kung connected ka ba sa tao, are you being selfish? Are you being too giving? Is it time again to give it all? So like, I've been in the best na been in the group na malapit kay Presidente Erap, yung Bright Boys na grupo doon.
Yes.
We've been in the group that impeaches presidents, in the group that impeached President Erap, impeached President Gloria. We've tried that dumating na point na I told my wife, if we wake up and we're alive and not in jail, pasalamat na tayo. No? So whether perception yun or truth, that's how we felt. No? And then we felt na when we lost my dad and he was our political patron and everything mundo revolved around him humanly, no? And everyone was saying, yung mga Cayetano, finish na yan, matatalo na sa Taguig, ganyan. Then my sister won. So, it's an amazing, but let me just cap it off with this. One time when my dad was in the States getting better, he was crying. Akala namin masakit na naman yung tiyan because almost every night iiyak siya sa sakit ng tiyan. And it's only my mom na nakakano. But you know what, when we approached him, he said, "Why are you crying, Dad?" I was here nung 60s. And I said, babalik ako sa Pilipinas. And the Philippines will be, really great and ganyan. And sabi niya, Alan, 40 years later, we're much worse. So I think that's, for me, it's not about me and 20 years, basta politika, 30. If Justice Cuevas and Senator Enrile, to quote the professional heckler, has unexplained health, di ba? If they're a basis of the longevity of Filipinos and politicians ngayon, I think the saddest thing is having politicians who are successful per se, but the country is losing out. Di ba the typical na parang, would you rather be a star player in a team that never wins the championship? Or would you rather na walang star, pero you win the championship? It sounds so noble and okay, but in reality, you have to get re-elected.
So how do you get power without sacrificing your soul? I mean, to simplify
it's a day-by-day thing. You have to be in constant, reflection, prayer, and you don't always do things that you want to do or things. Ang hirap i-balance and
For you, what's been the most? Is there a really difficult decision you had to make where you felt you had to compromise your ideals?
The confirmation of Chairman Brillantes. If it was totally left up to me, I would have rather not, because I really feel that we should have the cleanest of the clean in the COMELEC. But my companions in the commission were saying that I'd vote me anyway, and they said that let's give him don't judge. But hindsight, if I didn't give my okay, and there's an impeachment now, baka hindi. But but you can't. I learned that early on in life in high school. You can't have too many regrets. Hindi ka pwede mag-regret. You just have to try to do. There are a lot of people that I helped in the past who went back to bite me or to fight us. But I learned that from my dad. My dad would never hold a grudge. But problema sa politika, people mistake kindness for stupidity. So when you're kind, they think you're stupid. When you're tough at ikaw ng brabraso, they think you're brilliant. So I learned early on, for me is a great person, si Justice Gatchitorena ng Sandigan Bayan. In my first budget hearing, he sat beside me And he said, Alan, do you want to be a great congressman? It's more a friend of my dad than me. So I said, of course, who doesn't want? Sabi ko, okay, then you'll have to have a dual personality. I was a little shocked. I said, why dual personality? Because in government, you will not get anything done unless marunong ka manigaw ng tao. Unless you know how to say, I want this done, eto, kailangan ng tao, ganyan. So sabi ko, oh, that's easy. Yes, this is the hard part. In life, you cannot do that. Alam niyo, ang problema sa inyong congressman, nakapila kayo sa airport, gusto nyo i-upgrade kayo. Sa restaurant kayo, gusto nyo may reserved seat kayo. Tawagin waiter, magkamali, gusto nyo sigawan nyo. So, it's, and think about it, tama, di ba? You want the best of all worlds, but you have to sacrifice. So, if we want our country to be like South Korea or Taiwan or the economic growth of China, there are sacrifices that we have to make, not only as a nation, but individually.
So, how do you see the politics? How do you see things changing? Is it possible?
We're in a good place now. I mean, coming from President Arroyo's time, that it reached a point that either take her out, and when she was not taken out of office, she went against all of her opponents, and then she had to compromise so much. To be fair to her, I think she didn't want to go that far. We always have accused her of cheating, stealing, lying, but I think she had to go far because she had to support the group supporting her. So she, alam mo, dati sa Pilipinas, may magnanakaw, pero nahuli ka, bahala ka sa buhay mo. Dumating sa point na pag nagnakaw ka ng 1-200 milyon, maliit yan. Diba? So, so we're in a good place because people are actually expecting and supporting the president in the reforms. But to be very honest, I think he's doing a good job, but I think he can do a great job. I think he has to take a step.
2 years in,
Yeah, I don't think he should be afraid of any type of consequences sa reform because people are hungry for it and they won't always be. I mean, it's a balance. It's kung anong uso, kung anong flavor of the month, no?
But analysts are saying things are moving so much slower than they should, given where the Philippines is.
That's part of the reform system. On one hand, I understand the president in wanting to make sure that the bidding is okay. That's why, halimbawa, yung infrastructure mabagal. On the other hand, inflation is so high that yung na-save mo na 3 or 5% sa corruption. Remember,
wala na.
I've never known the difference before ng graft and corruption. What's the difference between the two? Graft includes wastage. Corruption yung intentionally ninakaw mo. So even if you're the cleanest
you'll still have some graft. Leakage.
If you are not efficient, or if ang mangyayari magkakaroon ng waste. Di ba? Halimbawa, ang tagal-tagal sa mesa mo ng papers. It took you 6 months. And in 6 months, 5% ang tinaas ng presyo ng materials. It's still graft. Kasi tao pa rin na nawalan. So I think the corruption side, naayos na ng Aquino administration. But yung graft wastage side, well, naayos nila that we have a standard. Na mahuli kayo, will go after you. But there is still the same kind of petty corruption that, but yung dati kasi during the Arroyo administration, parang ang message, ikaw magsumbong, ikaw pa makukulong. Di ba? You go after corruption, ikaw pa ang loko. Di ba? Ngayon, whether or not may corruption, may message ang presidente na will go after you. So of course, critics are saying, go after your own people also. Not only those who you perceive to be political opponents.
What do you think what impact will this impeachment hearing have?
There are 1,000 ways to look at it. I've been reading books on impeachment. In Latin America, before the impeachment, it was always coup d'etats. So impeachment provided them of an outlet of politics and political change without the drastic change or without the extreme of having a military takeover. So in the sense that this is better than political killings, it's better than coup d'etats, it's better than blackmailing a justice to just resign. Diba? In that sense, it's good. In the sense that it's taking up so much energy that could be given to other problems. Diba? It's bad. But I guess if we look at other countries, they're a few centuries, or if you look at Egypt, they're a few millennia older than us. And some are doing better or worse. Tayo, we're a little over 100 years old, except that with technology and with so much learnings, best practices around the world, kailangan lang natin mag-quantum leap. So I do believe kailangan itong mga accountability procedures, but there has to be a way to make it easier.
What lessons so far have you gotten from this impeachment process?
That you cannot see things purely black and white. Number 2, that it's really, really difficult. I think now I changed my mind. The hardest thing to do in the world is to be a judge. I've been a councilor, I've been a vice mayor, congressman, senator, have held different positions, have been nag-summer job ako na kung ano-anong trabaho sa UP. I was a student assistant. I did sa enrollment. But the hardest thing is being a judge because nasa harap mo na yung tao. Kailangan mo, first you have to be really fair. Kailangan mo takpan yung mukha na, if I love this person or I hated this person, will I be still objective? Number two, there are people who are great at lying, and there are people who nakakaasar lang talaga but are telling the truth. So I suddenly had a big admiration for our judges, and it dawned on me that kaya pala the Bible keeps telling us that even if there's so much corruption, if the judges are fair, you'll have a good nation. Because you have to expect that there'll be a certain level of disappointment, corruption, sa executive and legislative. But as long as you can run to someone, so in this case, you can run to the judges, the judiciary, then people will level off. But if the judiciary is the one that is corrupt, even if you have a good legislative executive, diba, you'll always get the wrong decision or the wrong remedy. So I do believe that the judiciary is really on a reform mode. There's so much that the past Chief Justices, even Chief Justice Corona wanted to do is doing, but they have to exist within the system then.
Yes.
So, but this impeachment is definitely good because it teaches people that everyone is subject to the law. Eventually, we all have to be accountable.
What's at stake for the Philippines in this impeachment trial?
First of all, Senate as an institution is at stake. By the president's own doing, his presidency is at stake.
Correct.
If you listen to Chief Justice Corona and his supporters, the independence of the judiciary is at stake. For political deal makers, all of their deals are at stake because if they place their bets correctly, they will. But in the meantime, what's happening at the rest of the country? Prices are going up. More people are losing their jobs or getting paid less. Problems with power and electricity in Mindanao. So all of these are happening. People are saying that computers can multitask, but my question is simple. Can government also multitask? It's a question to everyone.
Yes.
To be fair sa Presidente, we keep saying, is the executive department multitasking? Are you looking at prices? Are you looking at oil? Are you looking at inflation and Mindanao? But the question, sa Senate ba, is the CA, is the committees, is the budget, are we functioning as efficiently as pwede? And
is the Senate functioning?
No, talagang nakaka-consume ng, ang estimate ko, 8 hours a day ang nawawala every day for the impeachment. Kasi we start at 2, we end 6 or 7.
Yes.
You need at least, at the very, very least, an hour with your staff. You need at very least 30 minutes, an hour to read.
Yes.
And then people have the right to know. So, pag in-interview ka, it doesn't matter if it's the smallest or the biggest TV station, radio, internet group. Diba? Puwera pa dyan yung mga estudyante. We were students once
Yes,
diba? So I have a soft spot for students coming and interviewing. I always tell them 5 minutes lang, pero naawa naman ako pagkaharap ko na. But
look at our students.
At the very least, you spend 8 hours a day, Monday to Thursday. So anyone who tells you that, we're balancing, we're multitasking, don't worry, legislation is not suffering. Medyo may sugar-coated na yung statement.
There are questions coming in now from social media, so I'm going to throw a few from @Humble Neutron. With all issues the Philippines is going through, what should be given priority and what tangible results can we show?
I don't want to plagiarize, but I can't remember who said it, but basically ang sinabi niya, I think it's one of the American presidents that said that when a country compromises its values, it loses everything, pati economy.
Interesting.
Kasi there are a lot of, I remember when you're young, tinatanong ka parate, pera or puri or what's more important. And before, it was a bad joke to say na hindi nakakain ang prinsipyo. But for me, it's really the values. Regardless of our religion or moral beliefs, hindi judging, but for example, stealing is stealing.
Yes.
But it is as bad as people steal when government and society force others to steal.
Yes.
I do believe in society, some steal because they're forced to just live. So if there's so much to do in the Philippines, but yung value system natin, unless we change that, I'll give you a quick example. We don't want corruption. And if you see a police general or a military general having a mansion, what do you say right away? Corrupt ba yan? But you might find out later, baka may business or pinanganak na mayaman. But you find a police general or a army general who rented ang house or napakabulok nung sitwasyon ng bahay. people will not say he's an honest na magaling na general. What will people say? Mahina yan.
Yeah.
So you'd see apektado yung ano eh.
Yes.
We don't admire the good per se for good and don't reward the good for doing good. Eh.
Yes. Yes.
In our hearts we want change. In our hearts we want better values. But it's not our hearts that are ruling eh. It's yung pragmatic side natin.
Do you see that changing? And how do you see
I think parallel.
Oh.
The change for good is happening very quickly, but the change for the worse is also parallel, and it's
Yes.
always
It's like a tipping
fighting,
point
eh.
trying
Diba?
to
So you have more policemen who will absolutely say no to drugs, but you have more politicians who used to be drug lords who are just supporting politicians, but finally they told themselves, sandali, why would we give money to politicians? Tayo na tumakbo ourselves.
Yes.
So, it's also getting worse. Imagine yung dating kinasusuklaman na drug lords, wedding lords, whatever kind of false lords, supporting politicians. Ngayon, sila na mismo nanalo. Of course, may technique din. They don't usually do bad in their own
Yes.
area.
Yes.
Diba? But that's why I love the concept of being in the city with all the technology and comfort,
Yes.
but loving the ugali of the probinsyano. Because the probinsyano does no wrong. Eh. I mean, di ba, they know everyone. You borrow something, they'll say, babayaran mo ba? Hindi ka tataguan sa utang mo. Yung amor proprio, yung word of honor, may ibig pa sabihin, di ba?
Yes.
Except that, primitive in terms of medicine, in terms of technology and everything.
Yes.
In the city naman, it's baliktad. You have all kinds of kahitekan, di ba? But you sometimes have the feeling that everyone is there na lokohin yung bawat isa. So, that's why in our hometown, in Taguig, di ba, we use the word provinciudad. Di ba, na how do we not only develop, but have the same old-fashioned good values, bayanihan, hospitality, di ba? But then, also integrate what's best. Di ba, parang ang Japan,
Yes.
they always get what's best and then make it Japanese. So tayo parang, bakit ang natutunan natin sa Spanish? Hindi yung innovation
We took the worst
o yung
of all
sa
our colonizers.
Oo. Ang siesta nila, isang oras lang. Tayo, half a day ang siesta
What's
natin.
that saying? 250 years in a convent, 50
And then
years
50
in Hollywood.
diba? So the
Yeah.
Americans taught us good things, but we also get bad things. So, can we do the opposite? Let's take out everything bad sa tinuturo sa atin and then good, diba?
Napaka-idealistic mo pa rin. That's interesting.
Alam mo, the idealistic are the 10 million OFWs who are abroad.
Who are gone.
These are
Yeah.
the people who, when they get back, say that how come they can do it, and when we're there, kami ang bida.
Yeah.
Diba? And then come back here and demand it better. We have better malls now because yung nag-feed ng gastos na yan ay sa OFW. Any developer ng mga condominiums or housing will tell you 30% nung kanilang kita are all sa OFW money.
Yep.
So imagine with only 10 million Filipinos, not only, napakarami, 10% of Filipinos ang biglang nagkapera, so much change in the country.
Top
so can
dollar
you imagine
earner for the
if
Philippines.
you can have another 20 million Filipinos move from very poor to the middle class, you'll really see such a different kind of Philippines of compassion, of passion in serving and helping.
I think part of the problem, though, is that middle-class driver, the people who are most aggressive, have gone overseas. So
yes.
that's
I'm not talking in terms of ugali, ideas,
Yeah,
brain drain.
yeah.
I'm talking in terms of, halimbawa, you having a business.
Yes.
Di ba? There's so many, ang kukonti ng taong may
Yes.
pera eh.
Yes.
Di ba? So it's manufacturing. Halos walang manufacturing sa Pilipinas. Not
Yeah.
only because mas mura sa China, because we won't buy our own goods. And
Yeah.
even if you do want to buy it, walang pera ang
But
tao.
these are all things that you're trying to change through legislation. I mean, are these?
To be
It's
very
hard.
honest, there's unless you pass a really good law, I think there are three ways to get things done in the Philippines. One is divine intervention. No? By one way or the other, the Lord decrees something and it happens. Okay. Number two is that the president really wants it, because the powers.
down.
Yeah, it's really kung gusto talaga ng presidente. Number three, if the media not only wants it pero hindi bibitawan. Because when I
So
was
you
much
see us
younger,
as a major power, then.
yeah,
as a
but
journalist.
it's changed also
Yes.
Dati hindi ka bibitawan ng media Halimbawa, may ginawang masama ang politiko.
Oo.
Hanggang hindi mag-resign, nakasuhan, or na paliwanag niyang hindi bibitawan ng media yon. Ngayon, ang sabihin, palamigin mo na lang, isang buwan, wala na yan. Di ba? So, and this is not only in the Philippines.
Yeah.
If you read the books on impeachment, the impeachment against the presidents that work are impeachments where yung media hindi binibitawan yung ini-impeach na presidente.
Yeah.
But once na binitawan, look at kay Bill Clinton, di ba?
Yes,
he wasn't
yes.
impeached not only because yung media, but he was popular and everything, no? So, you asking me about things we can change, I think mas powerful pa ang being positive influence ng congressman and senator than the actual legislative work. Why? Because we have so many laws that are good but are not followed anyway. But when you do give a good example, halimbawa, no, si Congressman Kim Po, no, who used to represent Aklan, no, I was in an elevator with him before my first day in Congress, no. And when we were going up, bigla siyang yumuko, he picked up yung butt ng Yossi, ng sigarilyo, no? And the part na may laway, the brown part, no? And he just held it up, wala siyang kadiri or wala siyang ganun sa security niya. He picked it up. He looked at me and he said, grabe talagang mga tao, isipin mo, carpet, pati sa nagtatapon ng basura, and then he went out. And these are the people, di ba, who brought us Boracay and everything, mga taga ron. And I realized, di ba, you want to do change. Good example, like, you know, I don't know how he is as a politician, how he lives, ganyan, but si Manong Allen, I just loved it that he believes in cleanliness, so walang pakeme-keme, he picked it up, ganyan. So imagine if all of our leaders were like that. Why do you think that anti-Wangwang was such a big hit with everyone? So it's the simple thing, and it's the values that I think Filipinos look at.
Let me throw a few questions because there's several coming in now on social media. From @Pilosopotasio, what is your stand regarding political dynasty?
I obviously, if I say that I don't like it, you'll ask me.
What
my sister's a senator, my wife's a
yes.
mayor. Even in the Bible, it was all about dynasties, yung mga pare, yung mga rulers. So sa akin, it's not dynasty per se ang masama. Three things again. It's whether it's a good dynasty or a bad dynasty. Number two, it's more of the equal opportunity. Ang masama, even if you have a good dynasty, kung yung kalaban mo, walang equal opportunity to win, masama pa rin.
Yes.
But if you level the playing field, meaning automated yung election and anyone can win.
Yes.
Remember, we weren't always like this. We were the opposition, and we came from very humble beginnings. My lola was a public school teacher, and my lola was a mechanic, no. And my sister, inabot pa niya na bisikleta siya hinahatid sa school, no. So, and the third thing is really, the dynasties should not protect each other. So like in our case, pag kami gumawa ng masama, patay kami sa ate ko. So you know, it's if the dynasty is there as a COA of each other, then it helps. But if you're there na parang 5 of you are good or 2 of you are good, pero yung eto yung bunso or spoiled na SK, halimbawa may ginawang masama, pagtakpan mo, that's where it gets bad.
This question from @PinkyLicious22 is connected. Your wife is being accused of blocking recent COMELEC-approved recount of 2010 polls. This reflects poorly on you. Your thoughts?
Well, on July 5, I'm celebrating my 20th year in politics. Why July 5? When office starts on June 30?
Yes.
Because there has always been cheating in Taguig. And ever since, it has been our opponent who's been proven in court who've done that. My wife won fair and square. Even Chairman Brillantes said that there's no cheating and you cannot cheat with machines.
Yes.
So I'll throw back the question to our accusers. You can count the CF cards and they say you cannot cheat.
Yes.
Why are they insisting that they count the ballots, which were 45 days with the son of her kalaban, and the treasurer was the asawa of the vice mayor? And then they threw out all of our watchers and said none can watch it. And then when we went in, bukas-bukas na yung ballot box. So if you were in our position, na alam nyo nang pinalitan yung balota, alam nyo na yung chairman ng COMELEC ay abogado nung kalaban mo, wouldn't it be part of our duty, no, to people who voted for us, no, to protect her vote? So go ahead with the recount. Ang question lang namin, why are you so fixated on ballots na napalitan na? When in fact, the CF cards, which everyone are saying hindi pwedeng dayain. And remember, just one last point on that. Justice Tinga was a justice appointed by GMA.
Yes.
And they were hardcore GMA
right.
supporters. Even the book of Marites Vito put them in the core group. No? Freddie Tinga was the mayor. His vice mayor's wife was the treasurer and had the ballot boxes. We were in the opposition. So how could we cheat? I mean, ang galing naman naming mandaya. And, you know, masakit pa sa amin sabihin, but actually my brother lost because my other brother ran. So kung dadayain namin para kay Lani, do you think iiwanan namin yung yung isa kong kapatid? So, but I thank you for that question because it allows us to answer that. But for us, more than the image, the Cayetanos have always been more concerned about doing what is right rather than our image. So, if it's affecting our image, wala akong magawa eh. Kasi hindi naman kami papayag na dayain kami.
Your term at the Senate ends in 2013. Are you running for re-election?
I'm running for re-election. So far, that's the plan.
You are going to. Where are you headed? What's 2013 looking like for you?
I'm the Nationalista Party.
Yes.
It's sentimental for me for 3 reasons. One, my dad was Secretary General after the EDSA Revolution. Okay. Number 2, I think I'm the youngest Sec-Gen. Number 3, I've always believed that parties should not be a congregation of trapos or a vehicle to just get elected. But parties should really be instruments of change. So if given the chance, and really under this government, that opposition administration, the president keeps saying, tuwid ang daan dito. I really think we can make a difference. I mean, if the Obama campaign really sucked people in and really re-energized Americans, remember, ang ingay-ingay ng mga Americans about democracy and about their role in democracy, and they have a lot of things to be proud about. But kokonti ang bumuboto sa Amerika.
They're more
only
here.
about half siguro vote.
50%.
Ang Pilipino, we have so many complaints about elections, democracy, but 80 to 90% vote. So can you imagine if a political party can be so connected with people, can be so, think of a political party, instead of a political party, think of it as Facebook. If a political party can be Facebook, engage you, you can talk, you can criticize, you can ask me questions like this, you'll have a party that actually moves, get
but
things
is there
going.
really integrity in our political party system? Or are they conveniences?
But should that stop us from trying?
That's why
when they were asking us, should we join UNA or LP? Ang una namin tanong, bakit coalition of people right away? Hindi ba pwedeng coalition of ideas muna? I mean, what's your stand regarding Mindanao power crisis? What's your stand regarding VAT on oil, etc.? All of this. Nako, pang media naman yan, pang press lang yan, or masyado naman kayo idealistic. We know politics is about winning. We know that. May pragmatic side. But if you start with the pragmatic side, completely erase yung idealistic side. If you start with 100% idealistic, mag-compromise ka man ng 50%.
You can
ang laki pa na natitira.
What lessons, I mean, you were key in the 2010 elections and the Nationalista Party candidate Manny Villar didn't win. What lessons did you learn?
It was more of a perception, but I focused more on Taguig actually because he had a professional group running the campaign. But I was like, I think, like a son to them. And, whenever he asks advice and ganyan, there are a lot of lessons, no? For example, and the thing is, when I talk, kasi close naman ako sa halos lahat ng sides, no? Except sa GMA side, no? And all of them will tell you the same lessons and same trials, no? For example, all of them keep saying, by the time you know what to do, things have changed. So like when my sister won, everyone was saying, alam na namin formula. Itambak nyo lahat ng commercials nyo in the last 2 days. That people didn't know, my sister did that because we didn't have any money. So inipon namin lahat and then last stand yon. But as Senator Villar said, but by the time that the next election, everyone was putting all their commercials at the last. Okay. So noong 2007 naman, that was 2004. 2007, ang lesson naman was, do heavily on commercials kasi naabot almost all Filipinos have TV. Okay. But 90%. Nakalimutan nila sa 2010 that people know that commercials are paid. So although may influence, you cannot ignore the news. So kailangan mo isabay yung news sa ano. So, but hindsight kasi we're all brilliant eh. But siguro to just summarize, you always have to respect so much the voter. Hindi totoo yung sinasabi lang mahina or tatanga-tanga ang botante. Hindi, sawa na ang botante sa politiko at sa promise, etc. That's why they switch off. So the first key is how do you make them switch on? So nung namatay si Presidente Cory and na show sa television, sa radio, all the goodness, all the idealism that happened then, people switched on eh. So all parties, even Senator Villar, had a chance na naka-switch on na. How do you get? But obviously, President Aquino and his team had a better way of, touching the emotions, touching the mind, the heart of people. So there are a lot of sub-lessons there. But I guess yung loving God, your country, your voters, you know, no matter how basic, babalik ka doon. Research, di ba?
Yes.
The last 10 years, so much focus on research. And totoo talaga.
Yes.
I think even sa TV, no?
A lot.
Iba talaga yung may research ka.
Yes.
But what's one big lesson about research? Research is like a camera. It's a snapshot.
Yes.
So it tells you what was happening at that point. It doesn't mean that it's going to change.
Yeah.
Diba? So like yung isa kong parang tatay, no, he keeps saying that, you know, Alan, kung finocus group ang iPad, it will never be invented.
Yeah.
People will stick with a Walkman.
Yes.
Diba? Because you couldn't imagine life with the iPad, but suddenly now, ganon, no? So the relationship of the technology available and how you use it is key in a campaign.
So how important will technology be in 2013 and going on to the presidential elections?
It gets more and more important, but I'd like to focus less on its importance in the campaign vis-a-vis its importance to reform. Well, one of our biggest problems in the country is the amount of money to win a campaign.
Yeah.
And then paano babawiin ng politiko yon, diba? So I remember when I ran in 2007, I was telling people, if you want to donate to me, diba, would you rather, if I need 20 million halimbawa to win, diba? For a politician, it doesn't make a difference minsan saan galing basta't meron para sa campaign, no? Pero that's not really true. Why? If one person gives you 20 million, maniniwala ka bang walang strings attached yan? Unless tatay mo yon or lola mo or whatever, no? But if 20,000 people give you 1,000 pesos, walang may hawak sa'yo.
Correct.
Diba?
Yeah.
So, but the thing is, how do you do it? And you know, I'd be walking wherever, from humble areas to nice malls to Serendra. People will go up and say, "Sir, nakakayaman." No, I thought may question kasi pag nagsimula ang Pilipino ng nakakayaman, di ba? Then sabi niya, ano yun? Sir, napanood ka namin sa ANC during the time, sir. Taga ganito kami, taga ganun lugar, we want to help. They'll pull out 500 or 1,000 and give it to me. So why am I talking this way about technology?
Yeah.
Imagine if we can get the cell phones to transfer money
less
or parang loan. Ganyan.
Sure, of course.
So if 10 million Filipinos vote for you and they give you, some of them give you 5 pesos, 2 pesos, 3 pesos, you eliminate the influence of oligarchs, not eliminate but you tapatan mo.
Yes.
Diba? Of drug lords, of smugglers, of whatever.
Yes.
Then you know you'd have an instant reform. Diba? I mean, that's why it was so important for a clean president to win. Diba? Because by just believing that our president, Pinoy, walang may kayang humawak sa kanya, is a major reform by itself. So imagine if you can do that with mayors, congressmen, barangay captains, senators, congressmen, yung sinasabing regulatory capture or yung mga ganyan, matatanggal mo . But ngayon, baliktad parang tatanga-tanga ka pa kung hihingi ka ng palimali 1,000 kasi it's difficult, Pwedeng mangyari, you get enough, but then tapos na eleksyon, talo ka na. So really, how do you balance pragmatism and idealism in politics? And I guess anywhere, every time that I want to give up and say na, alam mo, mag-enjoy na lang ako sa private or sa church or wherever and stop politics, two things. One, God reminds me that I am where He wants me to be at any time. And number two, that anywhere I go, ganito din. Ang church naman may politika din. Di ba? Ang artista may politika din. Ang basketball may politika. Ang business may politika. May corruption din, no? Except that it's frustrating when you're in politics and gusto mo nang gawin yung tama, ikaw pa ang maano. Pag gumawa ka ng mali, ikaw pa yung bida.
So, I'm going to have to wrap up, but your last words on this, I mean, what do you tell the people who want to join politics?
Sa young, no? First, faith in God. Kung ano man ang religious beliefs nyo, no? We're a multi-religion tayo sa Pilipinas, iba-ibang ano. Then from that kasi, you'll understand that you were created for a purpose. So the second thing is faith in yourself. Huwag kayong mawawalan tiwala. Diba? Then hope. Kasi if you have those three, you'll go on and you'll find a way. Then minsan, hindi mo alam dumadating . So dati, anong pag-asang Pilipinas? Biglang nagka-natural gas, nagka-oil. Ngayon, diba? Kung ano-anong mga blessings natin. Dati, lahat ng Pinoy para yumaman abroad. Ngayon yung call center, sila lumalapit sa atin, mataas ang sweldo. Yesterday, nag-graduation, 18,000 daw ang sweldo pag call center. But times 3 if you can speak a foreign language. Ang Pinoy, napakagaling tumambay. So tatambay ka na rin, kumuha ka na rin na magtuturo sa'yo ng Koreano, Hapon, or ng Spanish. Diba? Times 3 ang sweldo mo. So things happen for people who believe that it it can, for people that hope. So, those of you who are watching or participating, who are texting, emailing, or tweeting, no? Once upon a time, imposible na you get involved in ganitong ano eh. Now, kayo ang bida eh. Di ba? So you know, but if you say, siguro I'll stop by saying this eh. When my sister was thinking of running, sabi sa kanya ng friends niya, Pia, ang politika para madumi yan eh. Huwag ka na sumali dyan. And my sister kept on answering, kung madumi, edi dapat sumali yung malinis para luminis. And then let me stop by saying na, yun ang challenge namin. Di ba? Sasali kami sa sistema para linisin ang sistema. Pero ang sistema,
is going to try to change you.
So that's the paradox, di ba? Do you change the system before it changes you? Or do you be able to balance? And that's where I love the words of JFK. Sabi niya, change things that you cannot accept, but accept things you cannot change. So it reminds me that, di ba, not everything's in your control, but whatever is in your control, it's your obligation to change.
Thank you. Thank you so much for spending time with us. We've been speaking with Senator Alan Peter Cayetano. There are so many more questions that we didn't have a chance to ask, but what we will do is post them on Facebook. We'll ask him to continue this conversation with you. Stay tuned. Come back again for Talk Thursday. Thanks again.
Thank you. God bless you.